Good evening. Welcome to HBCU Delaware Talks. We're here this evening to talk to you about a lot of things going on in the educational system. We want to talk to the community regarding our school districts, our school district, and perhaps our school district, which is Brandywine School District. But before I even get started, I always like to say a prayer. So, Father God, I ask you right now I thank you right now, God, for allowing me to be here, allowing our guests to be here. God, thank you for the traveling mercy that you bestowed upon us. Bless us with a hedge of protection, God, to and from, God. I ask right now, God, that you order my tongue, that I may say things that are acceptable by you. I thank you right now, God, in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. So, today or this evening, I have on the show a couple individuals from the Brandywine School District. In fact, the top individuals are administrators from the Brandywine School District, here to talk to you regarding the schools, policies, all the great things that are going on in the Brandywine School District. Right now, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Mark Holodick and Mr. Darrell Green. Thank you and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate you all for coming on, and I thank you. Before we get started, can you just even tell me some of the great things that are going on in the district? The community really sometimes they don't know what your job is, they don't know what you do, so they're always interested to find out. So from the top COO or the school superintendent, the district superintendent, what is it that you do and your job from day to day? And I know it's a lot.
First and foremost, I work for a 7-member board, and my job is to deliver on their vision for the Brandywine School District, and Darrell being an assistant superintendent who oversees all operations. He and I obviously work very closely together on all programming in every school, pre-K through 12. So it's everything from the minute students arrive at the bus stop, transportation to school, to them walking in, getting fed, and then of course everything that happens during the course of the day in their educational program, whichever school they're in, and then getting them home safely. So safety is our number one priority, and very close behind that is, of course, getting all children college and career ready and providing families with options and programs, initiatives that are enticing to them. And so there's a lot of work to be done, many great things happening, Steve, in Brandywine, as you well know,
Yes.
but plenty more to come, that's for sure.
Awesome. Mr. Green, how are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Good.
Again, I'm the assistant superintendent of school operations. I handle everything from transportation, school climate, oversee school nutrition, and the supervising staff that work in those various areas. And as Dr. Holodick alluded to, we stress safety, and the well-being of our children and young adults is always our number one priority, but also ensuring that we deal with whole child and looking at the academics and curriculum, the educational programming that they receive on a day-to-day, but also looking at how can we enhance their ability to be well-rounded citizens within the various communities that we serve.
Oh, awesome. Let me ask you, and just jumping right into charter schools, how does the charter schools affect the Brandywine School District and school districts in general?
Focusing on Brandywine, charter schools, as we know, are public schools. We have a number of students in our feeder pattern that choose charter schools, and for an array of different reasons. Our approach to the charter school movement in Brandywine has always been let's work collaboratively where and when appropriate with charter schools. While we don't have any charter schools of our own in Brandywine, we focus on our programming. And the idea is if they're choosing other options, whether it be charter, private, parochial, or they're choosing to another district, we beg the question, why is that, and what can we do differently to better serve our customer? And our customer, of course, are all of the students in our feeder pattern. You well know we have many, many students that choice into the Brandywine School District from neighboring districts. So like a charter school, students from outside the district are choosing us, and that's a good thing. But we have looked at charters through the lens of how can they drive us to be better. And I think that attitude has served us well to this point.
I look at or hear of some of the other schools or the other school districts, and they say things like, well, public schools are not doing well, and then they promote charter schools. I know for a fact that Brandywine School District is doing well. So my question is, what are we doing differently, or yes, what is it that we do different in Brandywine that other schools do not do, or other districts? And not to say that we really know what they do, but obviously we're doing something that works. And obviously there's other things that are not working in the other districts. So I'm just asking, what is it that we do different?
I can't necessarily speak to what other districts are doing, but I
Right.
know what we're doing that's working, and that is we're starting in pre-K. We have two very strong preschool programs. One is at Bush, which is housed in the at the Hamby site, Hamby Elementary School, and that is a very strong program. And then we have our ECAP program, which is housed at Piesta Pont Middle School in Wilmington. So we start pre-K. And then, as Darrell just mentioned, we really, I think, do a very good job of looking at the whole child, recognizing we have to have strong academic programs. And so what are some of those programs? We have an IB program, kindergarten through 12th grade. So it starts at Harlan, moves up to Tally Middle School, and then into Mount Pleasant High School, which was the first public school IB program. We have now in Brandywine over 45 advanced placement courses being offered in our high schools. We have a number of very strong STEM programs, again, K through 12 in particular at the high school and middle school levels right now, and our elementary program is coming along very well also. And then supporting the core subject areas, we have outstanding arts programs, other extracurricular programming, co-curricular programming. We have, which I'm sure we're going to get into a little more here, and certainly Darrell could speak to our AVID program, Advancement via Individual Determination. That's in all 6 of our secondary schools. We have the Achievers Academy run by Pastor David Pope.
Yes.
In all of our secondary schools that supports students, many of which have been overlooked in years past, and we're doing a better job than ever identifying students of potential who should be getting themselves college ready, and we as a system haven't necessarily served them the way we should have. And we're doing a better job in meeting the needs of those kids while still meeting the needs of children who are coming to us, quite frankly, very well prepared and ready to learn.
Awesome. Mr. Green, regarding the AVID program, that's an awesome program. In fact, I went to AVID training last summer.
Yes.
I'm still learning AVID. I love the Cornell notes. That works for me. In the AVID program, how can we, HBCU community or historically black colleges and universities, partnership with the AVID programs where we could bring in some of the HBCU professionals to talk to some of our kids, because I do understand that a lot of the AVID students, they tend to go to historically black colleges and universities.
So as you indicated, and again, AVID, the acronym is Advancement via Individual Determination, and it's really targeting students who have the abilities to achieve and to go on to post-secondary college settings to get degrees, and it just requires them to have a little more assistance, a little more structure within their programming. So as you indicated, Cornell note-taking. Yes. They look at their organizational skills. They look at, those supports that each of our coordinators within each of our 6 secondary schools, again, our 3 middle schools and 3 high schools, help those students within their core content areas, the maths, the English language arts areas, and the sciences. And I would just say in terms of partnerships, because many of the coordinators in schools, they take college tours. So that would really be an opportunity to leverage with our coordinators in each of our buildings in terms of establishing that partnership, so that when it comes college tour time, that we're looking at Delaware State, we're looking at Cheney, we're looking at Lincoln, we're looking at all the HBCUs that are really in our backyard that have a historical legacy that our students can take advantage of. So I would just say leverage the opportunities to reach out to the various coordinators in each of the 6 secondary schools to, again, when it becomes college tour time, and as well as our Achievers Academy, I think, which also serves students who need that additional support, who may come from backgrounds or homes that they might be the first to go on to college. You know, and what does that mean, and how can we engage that community but leverage the opportunity for them to take advantage of what HBCUs have to offer?
Awesome. I noticed that in a lot of the schools, as far as in fact the college fairs that, or they have them in Red Clay, where there was one in Brandywine. I don't see a lot of HBCU schools at the college fairs. In what way can we really support the college fairs, and what can we do as far as going into the schools to show HBCU support? Because in our community, there's a lot of kids dying. I mean, if people don't see that, they must be really sleeping under a rock. But the kids in the community today, they're not even looking at college because they're just trying to survive. And I know that with the HBCU community, if we could really come together and really work as one entity, we could really impact the community and give skills to these kids. We want to be a part of the school district, not just Brandywine, but all the school districts, because it's a family atmosphere. And a lot of these kids, they need love, they need family. And some of them, they just don't get it. How can we be a part of the entire program, the entire school district as far as HBCU community? What can we do?
And I would say again,
to help?
if I may, you had previously asked about getting AVID students and the students who go through the AVID program, but I would just say students who are in our traditional programs, whether that's, you know, advanced placement, students who are in the International Baccalaureate program that we, again, Dr. Holodeck alluded to, that we have at Mount Pleasant High School, engaging guidance counselors so that they can see that HBCUs are viable options for our students and young adults. Really communicating what HBCUs offer. So when they're looking at college application week and the filling out college applications, that they see the HBCUs, especially the ones who are within our the tri-state area, where they're accessible. And for our students who come from backgrounds that they may be the first, and I can only speak for myself, I know I was the first in my family to go off to college. And that reality was, what does college actually mean? You know, we have our children and young adults wanting to aspire to go to college, but do they know what they're aspiring to go to? Can they actually see, feel, touch that experience? And how can HBCUs or organizations such as yourself bring that experience to them in such a way that when they're dreaming of going off to college, they actually have had some type of experience, again, whether that be through a college tour, a virtual tour, actually having someone that can come into our high school settings that they can relate to, that they can make that connection with, to really see and take advantage of what HBCUs have to offer.
Okay, I've been doing a lot of work with trying to build an HBCU community in Wilmington, and it's really hard pulling some of our graduates or alumni out. And I'm gonna stay on it. We meet every third Friday for a meet and greet at the Wilmington Westin Hotel. Somehow, if I can get you all just to stop by one time to talk to some of these guys, or even get them to come in, because we really need to really build relationships, you know, with the school districts and the family atmosphere. I need to see it, because our kids are dying. And
Steve, I would encourage you to consider starting as early as possible. I think one of the things we've learned is that we can't wait until students are in high school to start actually talking about getting them prepared for college and getting them excited about the opportunity. So I think Darrell's point about exposing our young men and women, in particular those of color, to college campuses or speakers who come in and share their own experiences with them is critically important. But I think it needs to start at least in middle school, maybe even as early as elementary, 4th and 5th graders having access to people that are outside of our walls, you know, in our school system. And that certainly includes HBCUs.
okay, let me ask this: where do you see our STEM program going? I mean, now and in the future, or now and beyond.
So we'll reference it as STEAM.
Or
Well, one, because you know, it's and that's one of the trends that we're actually seeing with STEM education or STEAM education, is that you incorporate the arts. And again, for our viewers, the acronym is Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. And whether you're playing music, whether you're designing a piece of artwork, all of those factors come into play, are the skills that you need in terms of the sciences, in terms of incorporating technology and looking at the design cycle when you talk about engineering. We've definitely, as a district, we have a gentleman by the name of Judd Wagner who sits on, I think he co-chairs the Delaware STEM Council. We have a group of young men and young women at Concord High School in terms of the STEM program that just won an MIT grant, the Invent Team. So there are a number of things that are going on, but we also start early in the elementary just by the exposure and looking at, again, the collaboration that goes into working within the sciences and using, again, trying to incorporate technology and focusing on math as truly a prerequisite skill that they can leverage anything, whether you're going into college or career ready. I would say to be an auto mechanic nowadays, you need just as much math and science skills to work on a car nowadays as you would think, you know, someone who would want to go into the medical profession or into engineering. So it's really leveraging all of those opportunities, those skill sets, so that our children are prepared to go into whether it would be career or college ready.
I see the STEM program is really nice because we have a dynamic STEM program at Tally, and we have a dynamic teacher who's teaching
Ms. Handler,
STEM.
yes.
Ms. Handler. I went in her classroom and it's like she designed an emblem from outside of the building, and it just looks really nice. You have to go see it if you have not.
I was just in her classroom
Did you?
the day before yesterday.
She's awesome, and I really appreciate what she does. And I talk to her a lot about the STEM program, so I'm learning as well.
And one of the things I can, you know, speak specific to Tally Miller and what Ms. Handler was able to do is to partner with the Honeywell Corporation, NASA, to bring a Forces in Motion, or FMLA Live.
Right.
Which truly, I mean, to see all of the students at Tally benefit from a program that thoroughly kept everyone engaged, but talked about Newton's Law and looking at forces in motion and relating it to concepts that our students can understand, whether that's, again, rap music. I mean, there's a lot of singing, a lot of dancing, and talking about force and motion, acceleration, the various things that are science principles. But again, they walked away from it realizing, and I overheard one student in there saying, man, I really learned a lot today. So, you know, kudos to Ms. Handler, the staff at Tally, and just as a district, I mean, we've invested in STEM labs. We're always trying to build out the technology infrastructure because it requires a lot of technology. And we're fortunate to have a board who has supported those efforts to allow the taxpayer dollars to really go to the work that the teachers are doing within the classroom to promote not only STEM, but all the other core content areas.
Regarding STEM, Dr. Holliday, how can we diversely grow the STEM program or even get more African American or Hispanic students involved with the STEM program?
Yeah, great questions. So this is a priority for us and an initiative that has already started, Steve. We now have 2 camps that run in the summer months for elementary and middle school students. We have high school students that are involved in supporting STEM teachers who run those camps. We target particular students of color and other backgrounds who wouldn't otherwise have access to STEM opportunities. So that's one way we're approaching it. We're also using data that's coming from PSAT reports to identify young men and young women who are often overlooked in taking certain courses that would prepare them for STEM fields. Darrell had mentioned Judd Wagner, and his vision for STEM in our district really drives everything we're doing, and it's data-driven, quite frankly, looking at and recognizing that the future for our young people in terms of the workplace, we know that in this region, the tri-state region, about 60% of jobs right now, and that's growing, that percentage, are in STEM-related fields. So we have to ensure that we have graduates, all of our graduates have been prepared for those kind of fields. So we have the infrastructure, we have the classes, we are hiring those educators who have the skill set to teach high-level STEM classes, who can also build relationships with all kids and really motivate them into fields that they otherwise haven't had access to.
And I would just say, just to add, that at the elementary level, our math curriculum is Singapore math. And that's really one of the things that our students can leverage when they have the rigor and the high level skill set to go on to the middle and high schools, and not really looking at STEM as a pathway, as so to speak, but giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from a strong foundation of STEM education. And again, that's the sciences, the technology, engineering, which again is really looking at collaboration in the design cycle. How do you build things? And a lot of our elementary schools are doing it. I know Mount Pleasant Elementary is one of the schools that comes to mind, and a lot of the work that they do around STEM education. I also want to acknowledge a gentleman by the name of Ed Burks, who's a guidance counselor at Maple Lane Elementary, who holds professional development for elementary teachers to incorporate STEM and STEM education to all students. So that way our African American students, our Hispanic students, within the context of their educational program in elementary, are getting exposed to it in their core content or general curriculum area. So it's just not necessarily a pathway, so to speak, at the elementary level, as opposed to something that we give every student.
Speaking of professional developments, are there any professional developments as far as sensitivity training? Because every now and again, some educators, and I'm not speaking all, but I know that we sometimes don't understand notice how I said we. So we sometimes don't understand the whole child, and we should, because a lot of kids, they quit on you because they may be going through something. We don't know what the home life is about all the time. And how can we how can we have training to understand the child? Because sometimes children get put out of class if they're in class and they may use one of them homegrown adjectives, in the classroom, and we, instead of us changing that adjective to a more proper one, we might call that kid a behavior and put him out of class. And I'm not just talking about it this way, I'm talking about overall. Are there any sensitivity trainings that we can do as teachers to really get to understand the child so the child can be successful? Because I do know for a fact that if a child doesn't like you, he's not going to learn from you. So
there's a lot that we've done. There are things that are currently going on. We certainly have more to do in this area. We know. It starts with mindset. We have to have educators at every level who believe all children can learn, and approach every student the same way, and that is with a great deal of enthusiasm, love, and support, and have a drive to make sure those kids succeed. And as you mentioned, there are certain educators that struggle with children of different backgrounds. They might not have the kind of cultural competency they need to really connect with or relate to a particular kind of student. I've never run into an educator who doesn't want to connect with all kids, but having the wherewithal to do that takes a skill set that in some cases requires training. It comes easier to some than others. Right. One of the best I've seen, at least in a leadership position, is Darrell Green. I watched the work that he did as principal at Harlan, and now even in this position. As he mentioned, he works with students and families when significant or serious behavior issues arise, and the way in which he can establish a relationship in a very short period of time with a student and family can alter the trajectory of that child's course in our district, and that's a person working in district office. So imagine the kind of impact that can be had at the building level. And I'd be remiss not to say that we have a lot of educators that are doing that kind of great work. You do that kind of great work at Tally Middle School, and know that there are a number of other great educators there, leaders, teachers who are doing it. With that said, one opportunity is through what we call we're a member of the Delaware Valley Student Minority Consortium, run out of the University of Pennsylvania. Okay. That's a consortium that we've been a member of now for 10 years, and we send teachers, administrators, guidance counselors to the University of Pennsylvania for different professional development opportunities, most, if not almost all of which, are focused on this exact subject, which is how do we more effectively build relationships and reach students who of color and who are often in subgroups that slip through the cracks. And there are other opportunities at the building level that some of the principals run professional development opportunities. I know Darrell did a good bit of that work at Harlan when he was principal there, and it's happening in a number of our other buildings.
And one of the things that we're actually leveraging a week from tomorrow, we actually have a group of staff members, administrators, support staff, and teachers from PS DuPont who are going to be participating in a convening where we've partnered with Casey Family Programs, which is a foundation that are going to bring trauma-informed training. So we actually have a national presenter, and this is in collaboration with the Division of Family Services, the Office of Child Advocacy, and the Family Court out of Delaware Family Court. And it's a cross-district partnership, Appoquinimink, Woodbridge, Colonial School District. I believe Christina and Red Clay each will have a initial middle school to really look at trauma. So when you talked about what's going on in our city right now, and a lot of the trauma that from the shootings, from the violence within the city, a lot of our children bring that into the school. Whether it directly impacts their family or indirectly, when you're in that community, you're dealing with the trauma. And that's violent trauma, but also looking at the downturn in the economy since 2008. A lot of families are now finding themselves in situational poverty.
Yes.
You know, whether a child is rooted from their home, bankruptcy, divorce, evictions, all of those things play a factor in what our children bring into the school. So we have to be sensitive to that. And most often, and unfortunately, a lot of our teachers don't receive that training in their teacher preparatory program. Most often they're learning on the job. And it's how can we collectively, again, look at the nature of the whole child, but bring that. So actually, we're excited about the opportunity to look at, it's called Compassionate Schools Model. Okay. How can we really look at being empathetic, but also holding high expectations